So that's a really common shot to hit, that sort of out to in swing path. Ball going off to the right, losing golf balls to the right, losing distance and power. And there's a simple fix that not enough people talk about to get you hitting your drive straighter. Let's get into it. From a coaching point of view, that's probably the most common shot that you're going to see. That out to in swing path, the ball disappearing off to the right, where you get the high backspin, lose distance and power. There's a very, very simple fix that you can do to get yourself driving it a lot straighter. And it's all about understanding angle of attack and swing path. When you get those two things right, I guarantee that you can drive the ball straighter. And there's a simple little fix that I'm going to show you. Understand it, and it will get you hitting better, but it's something that can be a little bit strange to get your head around. Now, right, so the first thing to understand is that the swing is an arc. As we swing the club around our body, and then at some point as the club bottoms out, we're looking to collect the golf ball in the arc of the swing. Depending on the club that we're hitting will vary the ball positions. We know that if you're hitting a wedge or something that's very lofty, we tend to put that further back in your stance, and as you go into the driver, that progressively moves forward closer to your left foot, to the point where you are hitting driver, and that's going to be the furthest forward in your stance that you're going to get. So the reason being that if you're hitting a wedge, you want to be hitting down on it. You're hitting a 7-iron, you want to be hitting down on the ball. But when you're hitting your driver, you need to be hitting up on it. To make sure that, if you're hitting the wedge, you want to hit down to generate backspin, and when you hit driver, you want to be launching it nice and high and reducing the backspin as much as possible. So changing the ball position in relation to your stance is the best way to do that. But when we swing around our body. So what we're not doing is swinging in a straight line. You can't do that. You can't swing, get the club up there and get the club up there on the way through. So to help illustrate that point, what I've done is put these golf balls down in a sort of semicircle. So that kind of illustrates the point that I'm trying to make as to ball position being a variable, and then where that ball should be relative to our stance. So from this point you could say that if I was hitting a wedge, my club's got to bottom out here and then hit this ball, and then as it goes forward it's going to progressively move that way. Now, so if I get this alignment rod, this will show you the sort of ball to target line. So if I collect sort of these two outside balls here, put that down, my swing as the club comes through, and assume that the club is square to the swing path, so we've got a perfectly neutral position with the club face. You can see that as the club comes in here, we collect the ball, hit it, it goes forward, and then the club follows around on this arc. So the club will exit slightly to the left, but the ball will fly nice and straight because that's the ball to target line in relation to the club face. Now, as we push the ball further forward in our stance, you can see that the same thing like that, you can see that the alignment rod will now point left. So if by simply standing square and putting my ball position further forward, so level with my left foot, because the club will come in a lot shallower, you will have an out to in swing path, and that's perfectly normal. So swing path could be a variable. So we know that when you're hitting a wedge, that the steepest angle of attack will result in a swing path that comes the furthest from the inside. So that's why when you set up, you open up your stance a little bit so that the club will come in squarer to the ball. So to compensate for the fact that the swing path will be coming left and setting you up left, because if you do that, what will happen is as you swing, you will come through, and this is where the fade will come from, that as you swing, the club will come into the ball, your brain will say that this is going left and I need to open up that club face, so then you open up the face relative to the path, and then you start hitting the fades. So there's nothing to do with alignment, that's just what happens. Angle of attack with the driver will be the shallowest, so the path will be ever so slightly outside. And that's going to make you hit it left. So then what we have to do to compensate for that is effectively shift our semicircle round a little bit. So this is my semicircle shifted round a little bit. So then by putting the ball further forward in my stance, what I need to do is feel like I'm aiming ever so slightly to the right. It's the reverse of what we would do with the wedge. So the wedge where you open up your stance relative to the path to be able to hit a straight shot, because the angle of attack being steep, so therefore the path being the most inside that it can be. The angle of attack with your driver being the shallowest that it's going to be out of all of your clubs, the path will be closer, or if not, slightly out to in. So to allow for that, you close your stance ever so slightly as you're setting up to hit the draw. And closing your stance relative to the swing path and as your swing doesn't necessarily mean that you're actually aiming left, because one will counter the other and it will result in a straighter shot. So it should look something like this. So set up, if I set up square there, ball position's just inside my left heel, and now I get the feeling of just ever so slightly close my stance relative to the ball. So I'm, if I was on the course, I'd be aiming at the right hand side of the fairway. Swing path being slightly out to it, and this is going to help with, if you struggle with early extension and stuff like that as well. So it's set myself up so I'm ever so slightly closed. And you can see there that it just helps to get that little draw going and will result in some straighter shots, more consistent ball flights, and just generally better drives. So if you want to get rid of that sort of horrible shot to the left that a lot of people struggle with, give that a go. But definitely as we move forward, we're going into winter and the ground conditions are getting tougher. So if you're struggling with your short game and you want to learn how to hit some wedge shots and some chip shots from around the green in some slightly wetter, muddier lies, make sure you check that video out.